So, you've fallen through the ice. You've watched my video and you've performed a self-rescue. Now what? How do we warm ourselves back up? Today, I'm going to share what to do after you climb your way out of that ice. Now, before we go into this, there's two aspects that I didn't cover quite enough in the video and that people ask about a lot. The first is, what happens if your head goes underneath the ice and you can't find your way out? You're looking for light. Really, your best chance here is to scan around yourself and look for the lightest place. That is going to be where the ice is broken, and swim for that. The other thing is, where do you climb out, in which direction? Conventional wisdom says go in the direction from which you were walking previously. You know that the ice was strong enough to support you there, and that's a good choice. However, remember that when you break through ice, often it's going to send out some cracks and weaknesses, and even if you go back in the direction you came and you try to push yourself up improperly, just pushing on the ice, it very well may break again and again and again. So remember your self-rescue technique in that direction. The other option is to go towards shore. Even if the ice continues to break, you're making your way closer and closer to shore. Now, when we've been surprised by falling through ice, it feels like we're going to die. But unless you have a pretty bad heart condition, you're probably not going to instantly die in cold water immersion. It's time to reveal, and you may know this already, that a lot of people do this for fun. Yes, these are some friends and students that I took out, and you can see they're enjoying themselves in the ice water.
Good. Good. Nice. Good. Yeah, you guys. Awesome.
I forgot to wear mittens.
How do you feel?
I'm feeling all right now.
You feel all right now? How do you feel?
Great.
You feel hot? No?
I wouldn't say hot.
Okay.
Modestly warm, possibly.
Okay.
So when you get into that ice water, it is not this dire emergency that you instantly get out. That gives us our cardinal rule, which is don't panic. Relax. Breathe. That's why I say when you're in the water, you're clinging to the side of the ice, stop, breathe for a moment, get your mind about you, then perform your self-rescue. Now, when you get out, the same thing applies, because it's really easy to panic at that point and to run in the direction of your car, fumbling for your keys, and only when you get to the car realize that you dropped the keys somewhere along the way. Or because you're clumsy or you're not thinking, falling and injuring yourself. So take a moment when you get out to breathe again, get your mind about you, and then say, what is my best choice in this situation? Often in the comments of that video, I hear that the first thing you should do is to remove all of your clothes. This is not your best choice. Now, yes, if you have dry clothes or a blanket, it can make sense to take some of those clothes off. Don't take your shoes off. Your feet aren't going to last a whole long time unless they have some kind of coverage around them. The truth is, those wet clothes act a little like a wetsuit in scuba diving. Your skin is going to warm up the water next to your clothing and keep you warmer. It's not going to be cozy by any means, but keep you warmer than you would be if you had no clothes at all and you're completely exposed to the elements. Again, as soon as you get to shelter or you get to a place where there's alternate dry clothing, yes, absolutely take off that wet stuff and put on the dry stuff, but not until then. Do note that if you fall through the ice on a very cold day, something very unpleasant is going to happen with your clothing. That is that it's going to freeze up so that it feels like you are becoming the Tin Man. This has happened to me and to friends, my father, numerous times, and it is not fun. It makes it very difficult to move. But if you think of keeping yourself moving, never stand still to let it freeze around you, keep yourself moving, you'll be able to keep the main joints free and be able to make your way to safety. You get a secret added bonus if it does freeze up on the outside of it becoming a super good windbreak. So if it's windy and super cold, that will actually protect you a little bit, even though it makes life uncomfortable in other ways. Now, what does getting to safety mean? First of all, this might mean that a lot of today's phones may actually be functional after you've fallen through the ice. If your phone is still functional and you feel like you can't immediately get to some place that's going to warm you up, call emergency services. Tell them where you are, have a place that you can rendezvous. You don't have adequate shelter when you're waiting for emergency services, make sure you try to get out of the wind. And if there is sun, be in a place where the sun can hit you. It's not going to make a huge amount of difference, but it'll make some difference, especially getting out of the wind. Often there is a car or a house nearby, and if we can get ourselves into that kind of shelter, even better. Cars are not necessarily optimal, but they protect you from the wind. If you can start that car, get the heaters going, you have an emergency blanket in your car, right? And get that nice warm emergency blanket that you have. I'm not talking about the silver ones, so those can do, but I'm talking hopefully you have a nice thick warm blanket in your car. Then you can take off at least some of your clothes, get that blanket around you until you warm up. Obviously be careful of driving if you are starting to get hypothermic. When we get hypothermic, we don't make good decisions, and all of our reaction times are down. So if you're getting super, super cold, you think you're going into hypothermia, you're shaking badly, stay in that car, keep it warm, and call EMS. If you don't have a phone to call emergency services, obviously you're going to have to try to warm yourself up and drive. If you can get into a house, all the better. Turn up the heat in that house, get next to a heater, and remember when you're warming yourself back up, you don't want to warm up your hands first or your feet first. This is really, really important. You're going to warm your core up first. Again, if you're super shaking, it means that you're starting to go into hypothermia and you want to be calling emergency services because you can kill yourself inadvertently by warming yourself up incorrectly. So it's always going to pay to err on the side of calling emergency services if you're really hypothermic. Now, if you've just fallen through and you're just kind of cold, obviously when we take people swimming, they're going to come up out of the ice, they're going to put on some different clothes, they might be teeth chattering a little bit and not all that cold. Then you're safe to just warm yourself up. But again, always err on the side of warming up your core first and warming yourself slowly, even though it might feel a little torturous. You may have seen a video where I fell through in snowshoes and full winter gear, came out, just had a knife with me, and spent the night in the woods. If you are not in a place where you have access to a car or house, you're going to have to make a fire and get yourself into shelter. You're going to use your basic survival skills right there and think, I want to be in shelter, protected from the wind. I want to get a good fire going and warm yourself up again from the middle, not extremities first. And if you're an outdoors person who goes out adventuring and you feel like you're at risk of falling through the ice, then it pays to maybe join one of these ice swimming groups and get familiar with it so that you start to know, A, what it feels like to get immersed, and if you ever do fall through, it's not going to take you by surprise in the same way. And B, you start to learn how cold feels. A lot of us, as soon as we feel the tiniest bit of cold, we have this huge aversion to it, and we never experience what it's like to start to get a little hypothermic. When we start to lose even a degree of body heat from our core, things start to change. And the first thing that I notice is a reduction in my mental capabilities, and certainly a reduction in my dexterity. If you're familiar with that process and what it feels like to get colder and colder, then you're going to be able to account for things and make wiser decisions. In the end, remember that you have more time than you think when you're in a situation like this. And the cardinal rule, do not panic. That is going to make all the difference of the world in your self-rescue and in what happens afterwards. Thanks for watching, my friends. I'll have links in the description to the ice rescue video I was talking about and the one where I fall through the ice and stay the night. Share your thoughts, questions, ideas in the comments, and I'll look forward to talking with you there.